French President Emmanuel Macron is hosting Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida at the Elysee Palace as the two leaders seek to deepen ties between their countries. The meeting's agenda includes discussions on industrial and scientific cooperation, as well as the war in Ukraine and rising tensions in the Middle East. Earlier, Mr. Kishida gave a keynote speech at the opening of the OECD Ministerial Meeting, where he stressed the importance of maintaining a free and fair rules-based economic order. Mr. Kishida also pointed out the importance of involving non-OECD countries in the international community at a time of increasing uncertainty. Japan is one of the few OECD members in Asia.
And now the ministerial...
And for more, Ross Cullen joins us live from Paris. Ross, as we know, Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida currently in talks with the French president. What outcomes can we anticipate from these talks?
Yeah, that's right. The working lunch the two men are having being held in the Elysee Palace, which is the building just behind me here in central Paris. Lots for the two men to talk about over that lunch. The bilateral relationship, how to improve their industrial, scientific cooperation, working together on space technology and on civil nuclear projects. Climate change also, what I noted in the briefing note sent out by the French presidency before the call was that Emmanuel Macron wanted to specifically raise Papua New Guinea with Fumio Kishida to protect the forests, to work together on climate change, fight against a warming ocean and trying to reduce plastic pollution along with protecting biodiversity. Papua New Guinea, such a biodiverse country with the forests. Also, artificial intelligence is on the menu for discussions at that working lunch. There is going to be a summit on AI here in France later in the year, and Emmanuel Macron and Fumio Kishida will be discussing the idea of international structuring when it comes to trying to govern the rollout of AI across the world. International crises for them to talk about as well, the situation in the Middle East and the ongoing war in Ukraine.
Ross, Mr. Kishida giving his keynote speech at the OECD, calling for a level playing field in global trade. This just days before China's President Xi Jinping arrives in Paris for his visit. Now, the EU on its own has its own concerns about a level playing field in global trade. But is that additional soft pressure from Tokyo?
Well, we're just coming to your second point first, also at the Elysee Palace next week. Xi Jinping, as you say, the Chinese president, will be here. And not just with Emmanuel Macron, but also with Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, and a united front from Ms. von der Leyen and Mr. Macron to speaking with the Chinese delegation, with the Chinese president, about reciprocity when it comes to access to each other's markets and a level playing field for investment going into China or coming into the European Union. And just on the OECD, which is headquartered here in Paris, Mr. Kishida did also say that he wanted Japan to be able to lead the OECD and see better coordination when it comes to global climate mitigation. He also wanted to see evidence-based policies and also advancing coherent carbon intensity metrics. On the OECD and Japan, data out today. Just give you some of those, the breakdown from the OECD this morning, saying that Japan's growth should recover steadily with domestic demand underpinned by stronger real wage growth, and the OECD also saying there will be a slight growth in GDP in Japan, expanding 0.5% this year, forecasting 1.1% next year.
And thanks to Ross Cullen reporting live from Paris.